Would you like to learn how to make creamy, tart Hollandaise sauce, that staple of the kitchen? You can't make Eggs Benedict without it. Stay tuned for the next episode of Hilltop Stovetop. Hello and welcome back to Hilltop Stovetop, the show where we're teaching you how to make great meals in an ordinary kitchen. Today we're going to be making Hollandaise sauce. Now, Hollandaise sauce is that wonderful tart, buttery, creamy sauce that you see in restaurants a lot. It's a staple for things like Eggs Benedict, and it's also a stepping point for a whole lot of other sauces. And it's not as hard to make as you would think. So we're going to start off with some just basic ingredients. We've got eggs, we've got lemon juice, we've got butter, and we've got water. That's all it takes. And one of the reasons I've chosen to do this, actually there's several reasons. One is, of course, it goes good with everything. Secondly is yesterday I filmed the Salmon Caulibiac episode. And I always like to have that with a little bit of sauce, but I didn't make enough sauce, and I've got leftovers, so I want to have some sauce to go with it, so Hollandaise would be perfect for that. And thirdly, the next video that I'm going to be doing is about meringue pie. So I'm going to make a key lime pie and a lemon meringue pie. And even though there's enough egg whites in those recipes to make a meringue, it's always nice to have a little bit extra. So in Hollandaise sauce, you only use the egg yolks, and that will save us the egg whites for making the meringues later on. So I'm going to start off just separating the eggs, and there's all kinds of ways you can do this. This is how I learned how to do it, just sliding back and forth between the shells. And there's some people do it just by cracking the egg into the palm of their hand and letting the egg roll out through their fingers. There's little kitchen gadgets you can get that do the same thing, but this one works for me. And as you can see, I'm dropping them into the jar that's part of my magic bullet. Now, if you don't have something like this small blender, that's okay. You can do this just in a jar. Anything that's going to allow you to mix this really, really well. So we've got 3 egg yolks, 1/4 cup of water, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And I'm just using the bottled lemon juice, nothing fancy. I didn't have any fresh lemons, so but the bottled works just fine for this. Screw that on and make sure that this is really, really well blended. And we're just going to try this out. There we go. And this is the key, is making sure that all of these ingredients are well incorporated. I don't want any clumps of egg yolk. You'll see there's a little bit of egg yolk in there. So I'm just going to give that another whiz. Okay, so that should do us. And then we're going to turn on our burner. And you'll notice that I've got a dish in water. Now, the way you would normally do this is in a double boiler. Well, my double boiler is made out of glass. So that means that it wouldn't work in either of the cooktops in this kitchen. So, but all you have to do, and you don't need a double boiler, is just have a bowl in water. And you want to do it this way because you need to heat this gradually. And if you have it on direct heat, that's when you're likely to get curdling in this, because you've got it heating up too quickly. So we've got all of that into our bowl. We're going to take a little whisk. And then the last ingredient we have is some butter. And we've got half a cup of butter here, and I don't know if you can see, I've cut it up into little cubes. And as this warms up, we're going to add it 1 cube at a time and just melt that butter in there. And being very gradual, because if you do this too quickly, that's where you end up with your troubles. And it's very important that you use butter with this, and this isn't a time to be using margarine. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab just going to grab a pair of tongs to hang on to this with, because sooner or later this is going to get warm. And it's the egg yolks that will thicken this. So you would think that by adding more and more butter that this would get thinner and thinner, but it's actually getting thicker because of the egg yolks cooking. And the foaminess is decreasing. And there we have it. So all I'm going to do now is just going to let that thicken a little bit more. And then we'll add our salt and pepper and a little bit of paprika to this. But again, you'll notice that we've got this very, very smooth, and that's because of the way it was heated. And I am going to turn it down a bit. So we're going to add sweet paprika, which is different than smoked paprika. Add 1/8 of a teaspoon of that. And then 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper. And there we have it. So I'm going to take I'm going to take this oven mitt because this one is waterproof. Turn that off. There's one thing with a cloth oven mitt, if you get it wet, it doesn't have its properties of heat protection. So there we go. We've got beautiful, creamy tart hollandaise sauce without a curdle in it. Perfect. I can hardly wait. So thank you for joining us here today on Hilltop Stovetop, where we learned how to make hollandaise sauce. And hopefully you'll join us again. Like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, which is going to be all about making meringue pies with the white from this hollandaise sauce. So thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.